Hello, Internet! So today's video was supposed to be my video for last week where I introduced myself and all that jazz, but it wasn't for reasons. So I'm Amelia, and I am the girl with the funny accent. I'm a mystery to all. Is she English? Is she American? Is she an alien? Is she Australian? No, why do you keep asking me that? So today's a very special day because it's International Women's Day. Hey! So I'm here with my feminist tea. Can you see it? Can you see it? There's a glare. And today I'm going to be talking about what women love most, being turned into love interests for other people's entertainment. Or as I like to call it, Captain America Civil War sucks. That's a total lie. Captain America Civil War is one of my favorite movies of all time, but we'll circle back, I promise. So romance is great, right? It's often the best part of the book. What could possibly go wrong with romance? So much could go wrong with romance. So I have a love-hate relationship with romance. I love a lot of romance movies, especially Disney related, or have you ever seen Stardust? That's a great movie. But also, I have an anecdote. So whenever I would go into Barnes & Noble, I would look at the book jacket because I want to read books. What? Shock horror. Oftentimes I'd pick up a fantasy adventure novel where it says, a girl goes on a magical quest, and then she meets this boy, and then she meets this other boy. And I've just lost interest by like 30%. So a lot of people, when they talk about romance tropes that are really annoying, they go for the love triangle and the insta romances, and don't get me wrong, I hate those so much. But I can deal with a love triangle that's done well. And if Cinderella and the prince look across the ballroom at each other and suddenly fall in love, I'm not going to fault that because they were always going to fall in love. Because that's how the story ends. There's really no tension there. So instead, today I'm going to be talking about those romances that just didn't need to be there at all, because that's where I have fun. So the first type of romance is a romance that do have an effect on the plot, and they move it along, and maybe they're even really cute. But there's one massive problem with them. There's no lead up. Where does this come from? This is people who either have barely interacted or interact a lot in an entirely platonic way. There's no flirting, there's no banter, and there's no reason for them to fall in love. But they do. I'm mostly going to give examples of movies and TV because I'm a student, and as much as I would love to read for fun, I'm reading so many plays. Just plays. Only plays. From the 16th century. That's it. So this first one, I get it. I get it so much. But it pissed me off. And that is going to be a spoiler. So if you haven't seen Legend of Korra, skip ahead. Korra and Asami at the end of The Legend of Korra come out of nowhere. They've been really, really good friends and have really sweet interactions, but there's no hint that there might be something more there. It aired on Nickelodeon, and you know we can't have those lesbians on Nickelodeon. But both of those characters were so badass on their own, and it was just kind of annoying that they needed to end up with anybody. And again, I'm not complaining. As my friend Angela says, I'll take my lesbians where I can get them. But when there's absolutely nothing leading up to it, it was just kind of me watching it going, what? Because it was just confusing. It didn't make any sense. And the next one is purely the movie example. It's been a really long time since I read this book, so I actually can't tell you this happens in the book. But the movie version of Catching Fire, in the movies, you don't have this kind of inner monologue in Katniss's head because it's a movie. But the kiss between Katniss and Gale was just kind of you watching the movie going, oh, is that a thing now? Oh, okay. Because in the first Hunger Games film, you can kind of tell that Gale is like super crushing on Katniss and that she might be kind of crushing back. Except for like Gale watching the Hunger Games and like getting all jealous face when she talks about Peeta. You don't see them really interact for the rest of the movie. So when they suddenly kiss at the beginning of Catching Fire, you kind of watch it and you go, okay. One of the biggest offenders of this is time skips. People who are just together after a time skip and you're just like, really? Because there was like no interaction between the two of them before. But that was just me complaining. We've got more to come. So the next most super annoying thing is when a romance is super distracting. And this is the romance that exists, and it might be a subplot, but after a while, it's just the plot. So this is the Padme and Anakin love story. This is the love story that's not supposed to take over the plot, but when you ask anybody about the Star Wars prequels, all they're gonna say is, oh my god, the Padme and Anakin romance was so annoying. So if a romance plot overshadows the real plot of the story, you've got a distracting romance. My first example has an anecdote. So this is actually purely the movie version of this story, and that's Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So fun fact, when I was researching for this video, because even though I had all of my ideas in my head, I promptly forgot about them. Yep, because that's my brain. So these romances were in the book, but I found this really funny thing that someone said online, that the romances take up so much of it that by the end of the movie and Snape goes, "I'm the Half-Blood Prince," you go, oh yeah, that was a thing. And yeah, you've got the whole thing with Dumbledore at the end, but it essentially feels like you're being pulled into a horror movie from a romantic comedy, and it's very jarring. My next example is the pinnacle of a distracting romance. This is the one that everyone is going to complain about, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to complain about it, because I give the people what they want. And this is Joey and Rachel from Friends. Now I get this one. I read an interview that said that Joey and Rachel were put together purely because they were horrible for each other, but this could have been someone just trying to cover the tracks. Everyone ever in their entire lives dates someone who's bad for them, and if you don't, you're either wrong or way too lucky. But for a while, it does take over the show. There was an entire episode focusing on how Ross is fine and working on their relationship and things getting awkward, and it just becomes a lot for no real reason. So now we come to my favorite thing to bitch about, when the romance is just unnecessary. And I don't mean like, this plot would still go on without this romance, but there's a romance because we need to make it a little bit more relatable and entertaining. No, this just doesn't need to be there. Remember when I said we were gonna circle back to Civil War? Here it is. So a lot of my friends know my Captain America Civil War rant because I love Captain America Civil War, and this one scene is so disappointing. You know what I'm talking about. It's the kiss between Captain America and Sharon Carter. Not only weird because he dated her aunt, ew, but also weird because they don't interact ever again, except she just kind of shows up on his team. They don't have a one-on-one conversation after this. It's so weird. And this is even weirder coming from the fact that in The Winter Soldier, they did have a cute banter thing going on. He had that whole thing with Black Widow where she was like, go date that girl, It was just very obvious that Civil War was just like, oh yeah, we need Captain America to be in love with a girl. I promise guys, he's straight. But because there's absolutely no interaction before or after, it just comes completely out of left field. And then, of course, would I really be a university student without shoving my dissertation project on you guys? Would I? Would I? Would I? You know Shakespeare. He's that guy. He wrote plays. We're not going to be talking about Romeo and Juliet today, guys. Aw, man. Nope. We're going to be talking about King Lear, the character who's completely irrelevant to his own story. So fun fact about King Lear, it's a tragedy, so people die at the end. What? And people in Shakespeare's time was like, no, don't, that's too sad, what are you doing, stop. So this guy called Nahum Tate wrote it again. That's right, he took Shakespeare's play, rearranged some of the scenes, cut some shit out, added his own stuff, and gave it a happy ending. How did he do this? By taking two characters who never once interact in Shakespeare shows, and making them fall in love. Yep, that happens. In the original pseudo-history written by Geoffrey of Monmouth, the female character in this pair already has a husband. It doesn't make any sense. They don't talk in the original story. You're gonna rewrite the story, don't... It's the epitome of unnecessary romance for me. So those were my 3 romance tropes that I find really annoying that aren't insta-romances and love triangles. Because you can be annoying on multiple levels. Yay! You're done listening to me talk. So happy International Women's Day, everybody. It's a really good day to stay at home and only be dressed from the waist up. Thank you so much. I have linked all of my social media in the description box. Please subscribe if you so desire. And I post new videos on Thursdays. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.